There we go. Owen gets to clap the hands for a change.
Is this the only way I can like
Yeah.
cross my legs?
What's this camera for here?
That's just. Yeah.
Oh, it's really
This
cute.
Owen goes above and beyond. Above and
It's
beyond.
Shining
like-
it, looking at my.
It looks like a little Star Wars
He's hoping
guy.
that maybe he might get a meal at the end of all this.
Yeah.
All right. Okay. So welcome to today's episode.
Mommy and Daddy camera couldn't afford babysitting for baby camera. They had to bring him to work.
Welcome to today's episode of the Coffee Course. And Enda can't join us today, but we do have a Coffee Course original, Tom Hayes.
No, this is Enda.
Welcome back.
Hi, Enda.
Yeah.
Hello.
Hi, guys.
How is your business in Cali
Great,
Coffee?
fantastic.
So
It's good to be back.
good to have Tom back, and also with us today, obviously, of course, Eilish from Calendar Coffee. We thought we'd have a big crew today, but this is a big enough crew. I feel we'll be all right. And today we want to talk about decaf.
Decaf.
Eilish is slacking off, but we are going to talk today about decaf. We're going to dedicate this episode to John from Stone Valley because he loves decaf so much. But we also have the decaf here from Calendar. So, Eilish, why don't you take us through some of your thoughts on decaf?
Oh, I didn't know if my opinion was relevant.
Well, it's not. But like
Oh, okay, fair enough. You just got to fill space.
yeah. Enda's not here, like.
I am.
sorry, Enda, sorry.
And yeah, I guess I find it really interesting coffee people's attitudes towards decaf, because I think it's becoming like old school a little bit. No offense to this, very I do actually love this packaging, but to me it's kind of old school to hate on decaf because you're a specialty coffee person, because it's not just.
You're not
First
just
of all,
chasing
is
the caffeine. Like,
First of all, I think it is an excuse nowadays to say like you can't, like it's not going to taste good if it's decaf, and to just assume your decaf's going to taste bad and nobody's going to ask questions about that.
Do you think half that though as well is that so many people, and I'm sure you can testify to this as well from a good few years ago, is like are used to the decaf that would have came in a airtight package that was already ground up.
For sure, but
Yeah.
people are also used to bad coffee full stop.
Yeah, true.
Do you know, and we are trying to change the tides a little bit. But like, you know, there's coffee nerd people who can be pregnant who don't want to have caffeine. There's people who have medical conditions. There's people who want. I get the urge like at 9 o'clock at night, almost every single night, to make a pour over. Like it just, I'm like chilling. It's fine, and then I'm just like. I don't even necessarily want to drink it. I just kind of want to make it. But I'm not going to, I like have quite a severe cutoff point. Like basically past 3 p.m. if I have any coffee, I'm not going to sleep. And it's not going to like bring me up. I won't have like an energetic evening. I'll feel exactly the same. And then I'll just lie in bed and it'll be like 1 o'clock in the morning and I'll be like, what is happening to me? And then I'll just like have a vision of the one coffee I had at like 3:30, 4 o'clock. And I'll be like, and to be fair, I don't drink decaf. Like I don't go in and order decaf in places, but I do want there to be a push towards better decaf, and people caring about it, because I do think we can get to the stage where like it's really normal to have decaf on bar, order decaf even if you're really nerdy about your coffee, even if you love your coffee, and just.
Oh, like you've been
choice.
in the industry for a while. What was it like in the early days when you were working?
Well, I suppose like one thing people want with decaf is that they want the same characteristics of a cup of coffee without the caffeine. And I suppose, yeah, look, when we were making it, it was just so hard because it was a combination of things. I suppose decaf I had wasn't that good to begin with. The actual coffee wasn't good to begin with. And then on top of that, we weren't grinding it enough. We didn't have our own separate grinder for it.
Yeah.
And then on top of that, we were pre-grinding it, and it was sitting there for a long time, getting aerated. And then by the time somebody wanted to order it, you're freaking out because you're trying to set it.
Yeah.
You know, you have to use way more. You've got to grind it smaller. So from an actual barista's point of view, it was a nightmare. You know?
In fairness, in every place I've worked, like someone ordering decaf like put the fear of God in me because
Yeah.
because I was just like, okay, that grinder has not been touched in 2.5 hours.
Yeah.
But
But
I'm
at
going
the
to pull
same
a shot
time-
and I have no idea what's going to come out of it. And like, you know, when
And it's
you're
gonna
when
just-
you're when you're dialing out in when you're dialing
Yeah,
out, that's when you do
dial
decaf,
out.
it's dialing out.
Yeah.
But when you're dialing in and like, you know, you change the grind size, whatever, you hit the perfect, pull
Mhm.
a perfect shot, and then the next shot you pull, a lot of the time is going to be like a little overcompensated. You need to like pull it into your range.
Mhm.
And so when you're doing decaf, because you're pulling that one shot and then maybe you're not going to get anything for a while, you end up hitting, you know, you get your perfect shot, you send that person out the door. 3 hours later, somebody comes by. Technically,
It's
your
life.
grind size should be perfect,
Yeah.
but
But
it's
never-
not. It's
yeah.
overshot, and
Mhm.
it's older, and it's, you know,
Mhm.
there's old coffee in the chamber. There's like, so
Mhm.
I do empathize with baristas who panic when people.
It's a pre-brewed green coffee, you know? Must
It's
be
not that much of a headache, to
Really?
be honest.
it's a headache for fucking a
Yeah.
barista.
Yeah, we put all the headache on.
Sweary Tom returns to the coffee course.
Are we PG coffee course? Sorry. Have we moved up?
It's fine. It's fine. We've missed you. Tom. We've missed you.
Oops.
Last year's hypercut of Tom swearing was the most popular video. I'm leaving this in, by the way. Well, like, I suppose, what about half calf? Is there any interest in
Right,
in
so
that? This
was-
is something I hear Stephen tells me is very popular in Canada at the moment.
Yeah,
We used to have a customer who'd be like, "Can I get a half calf?" I was like, "We don't have half calves." Like,
say it in the
"Can
accent.
you do one
Jeff.
shot?" Can
I
you do
know what
one
accent
shot?
that was said to you in.
You do one shot of regular
Yep.
caffeine
Oh,
and
I'm
one shot
cutting
of
that.
decaf. I'm like, I
Yeah, do you
can,
wanna
but,
pay
like, do you want to pay twice?
€7 for your coffee?
Yeah. Or
I think so. I was having a discussion with someone recently about decaf and weed. To be honest, we were talking about how there was some kind of like, I think it was some kind of hybrid between like CBD
and THC.
and
Mhm.
where they're like picking.
The best attributes.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And so it's like you get the high or you don't get the whatever. I wasn't
Mhm.
listening, and then they started talking about coffee, and then I was listening.
Mhm.
You're like, and I'm back in.
Well, they were kind of pitching. Yeah, you just see my eyes just start to like roam. No, but they were kind of asking me whether or not that would be possible for coffee, where you could. I think what they were saying was like theoretically, not remove the caffeine, but whether there was a way to control the side effects of caffeine, like anxiety and things like that, without
So like a reduced impact, kind of.
yeah, without necessarily like, you know, there's a whole spectrum of ways you could experience from full caffeine, full anxiety,
Yeah.
no caffeine, no anxiety,
Mhm.
something like in between. So then I had told them about half calf.
Mm.
They did actually remember from usually the States.
And I suppose, to be fair, for people who are watching, might not be familiar, it just basically is what it sounds like. It's just a
Yeah,
lower
and I
caffeine
don't
alternative.
know.
But is it
It's
a
half caffeinated coffee, but it's like not, you know, you mix a half a bag of coffee and half a bag of decaf. It's like, from what I know, a milder form of the decaffeination process. Now, I haven't done any research into how that actually happens. But I think, you know, as much as it's kind of jokey as like, oh, it's like you're only going to get that from an American customer, makes perfect sense to me.
Mm.
You know, like, I'm planning to go up and do a coffee trip up in Dublin this weekend. And I'm like, okay, so here's all the places I want to go. Here's all the places realistically my legs can carry me. And then
And
here's
here's
how
how many
many
coffees I should
coffees
actually
my
have.
stomach is going to be able to
Yeah.
take. And I know for a fact it's 6 if I'm willing to cry on the way home
Yeah.
and 4 if I'm not.
Yeah.
Do you know?
Talking espresso here or filter?
Either.
Or like,
either.
what's that? The red eye where you put the espresso into the filter?
That's
Yeah.
not what you do in a
my
coffee.
God, that is.
So like if I was, you know, okay, so I think there's a way that you can decaffeinate things and then maintain the flavor and all the like intricacies that we like in coffee. That's ideal, okay? But then if there is kind of halfway point where, you know, you're getting your caffeine kicks, but maybe you can have a couple more coffees in the day. And if it was a situation where, maybe you want to control your caffeine intake a little bit more. You really like drinking coffee all day, but you can't.
Maybe you have a higher sensitivity.
Higher sensitivity, like, like there is space.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. There's space for that, and I do hope.
And probably anyone who had a career in coffee for a long time, because I don't know about you, but it seems like the longer you're in this and the more you drink coffee, the more you're like, okay, man, I really need to taper back, and it starts to almost impact you more, because I remember you saying a while back that you got to the point where you kind of to really taper back your coffee intake because it was just impacting you quite a bit.
I'm extremely sensitive to coffee. I only have one coffee a day, if even. I have a small 200 milliliter thing of I'm at like 12 grams of coffee brewing in the morning, and I think I get about 200 grams of coffee out. I can't drink any more than that. And do I buy decaf? No, I don't. Should I?
Probably.
I don't know.
How much of it is?
Sounds like you should.
But like,
but how
I
much
enjoy that. This is the thing. I enjoy my cup of coffee in the morning. And I probably would want another one at 12 or 1. I'm extremely sensitive to it. But I enjoy the one in the morning so much and that process that I just want the one. And then that's what gets me up in the morning again the next day, you know?
Your little ritual. Like,
and one of the nicest cups of coffee I've ever had, and I'm not just saying this because we're calendar, but Jamie from Bristol Bus made me a decaf espresso, and he was like, I'm just going to do decaf all day today, I think.
That's such a Jamie thing to say.
Yeah.
And he just said, I'm going to do decaf all day today, and I'm going to tell people, maybe not a day, maybe he did it for an hour, but anyway, he had an Ethiopian he had last year.
Okay.
It was phenomenal. It was one of the best cups of coffee I had, and it was decaf. And he said he handed me an espresso, and he handed me a flat white, and it was just so balanced, so beautiful. And he said, that's decaf, what do you think? And I was like, it just blew me away
every single time. And like, okay, I know this is going to sound like bragging, but like, it's not. I'm barely in the door. Barely in the door in calendar, so I can still brag. Every time we do a cupping and we have decaf on the table, I get to the end of the table and I taste it and I'm like, oh yeah, this tastes good. Because I still have this like bracing for impact mentality where I come to the end and I'm like, oh, here we go. I look at it, it looks really dark, and I'm like, oh, I'm going to get beaten to death by this coffee. And then you taste it and you're just like, it's sweet, it's balanced, there's fruit, it's everything I want. And yet, do I have bags of decaf in my house? No, I don't.
No.
We go through quite a bit here, a decaf.
Yeah.
We have I was just chatting to Dan and Zara about this the other day. Like, our percentage of decaf is actually quite high, and it's not even an afternoon thing. It's just people who drink it all the time.
Yeah.
And I think it was because of that some people started trying it first, and it was almost that reaction of, that's really nice for decaf. So maybe they did initially start with their afternoon one.
You need to get somebody in the door for it, I think.
You get them in the door and get them on board, and then they might actually,
Maybe we need to do a tree bark decaf day.
Yeah.
Come on!
We'll see.
There was a point, our decaf sales have gone way up in the last year. Like, there was a point where I think, not every roaster does decaf, and there was a point where
not every shop does decaf.
Not every shop does
baffling
decaf.
To me.
And people, I always thought, it's baffling to me too, and people come in who obviously always drink decaf, and they'll ask us kind of nervously, like, do you guys
not
have?
every specialty coffee shop, or not every shop?
Bit of both, to be honest. I mean, obviously I don't want to name names or anything, but there is one or two around. I'm always like, it's like someone who opens a business now and decides not to have gluten-free options or to have vegan options. You're not helping yourself or your customers, so what's the point? Like,
please feed me, I'm vegan.
There you go. It's just as easy to have those options. And it makes sense both in a customer service point of view and a business point of view.
Yeah, absolutely.
You wouldn't think you'd have to sell it to anyone,
but I do think. I think we need to talk about decaf more. I think that's the thing, like, because decaf tends to be more consistent. So like our coffees are always changing on your shelves. So every time a customer comes in, they're going to be seeing different pictures.
Do you think that is it though? It's because it's just called decaf. So people come in and they'll ask about what's on bar. They'll ask about what's on filter. They look at the bags that's new. But the question will always be, do you have decaf? It'll never be what decaf do you have? What is it?
You might be kind of on it there.
That might be the thing.
Because I think if I'm just imagining, I go into a cafe and I go in there, like, we'll say once or twice a week. If I start to notice that their decaf grinder has, every couple of months, whatever, changes, that I would probably notice that. I'd probably ask them about it, and then there would be a conversation. And once there's a conversation with me and a barista about a coffee, I'm going to buy it. Like, I'm a sucker. So yeah, I think we need to talk about it more. I think we need to open up our brains to the idea of like decaf not being one thing. It can be half calf. It can be, maybe there's a way to alter the decaffeination process and what we put back into it. All of these different things, and that it can be an experience and not just like decaf tastes like decaf tastes like decaf.
Yeah, it's true. Maybe that's a good place for this one to leave it for now. And
Enda has a thought.
Yes, no, go ahead.
I saw it.
No, like, I would like to touch more then on the process. Would be nice if we can.
We might circle.
Yeah, we won't do that today.
Yeah.
Yeah, we won't do that today, but
episode,
we'll talk about the different types, I think.
Yeah.
It's because it's a bit of a deep, dark hole. And
it is. It is.
And there's, the guys had mentioned to me today about decaf, and I just done a small bit of touchy research, and just there's quite a new number of ways coming on now about decaf, more so like than we were talking about the Swiss water decaf and Swiss water decaf and the cane sugar and the EA process, and there's a couple other ones now out there that are kind of funky as well. So
decaf's
really
the next big thing.
Decaf is the next big thing. Yeah,
so we'll come back and we'll do an episode on the processes.
Yeah,
cool.
that'd be cool. Yeah.
Sounds good.
Yep.
So that's it for today, guys. Thank you.